What is a public right-of-way? A public right-of-way is a public right to travel unhindered over a piece of land, even if that land is privately owned. Generally, this term is in reference to sidewalks and streets that are located on city or town properties. However, even if the public right-of-way is on such public property, any landowner adjacent to the right-of-way may have a responsibility to keep the public right-of-way safe for travel by pedestrians. A public right-of-way can be differentiated from a private right-of-way, which is usually referred to as an easement. The most common examples of a public right-of-way are sidewalks and public roads. A public right-of-way does not have to be at ground level, however. City-maintained power lines that go across someone's property or sewage pipes that run underground across private property may also be considered public rights-of-way. The public necessity for such infrastructure gives the city or town an implied right to run such infrastructure across private property with or without the express consent of the owner. Even though public rights-of-way are technically owned by the city in which they are situated, adjacent property owners generally are responsible for the immediate safety for travel along the right-of-way. This does not mean that a property owner must refill potholes that develop on the street in front of his or her house, but he or she has a responsibility to make reasonable upkeep. For instance, if there is a snowstorm, he or she usually has an obligation to shovel the sidewalk and make sure that it is not dangerously icy. Additionally, he or she may be responsible for the removal of any dead branches hanging from trees on the public right-of-way that run the risk of breaking and harming passers-by. A private right-of-way is usually called an easement. Easements are private grants by a landowner to another party, which may be a private party or the government, to use his or her land for a stated purpose. For example, the owner of a farm may grant a neighbor the right to drive across his or her land for the purpose of entering or leaving the property. This is a common grant in situations where the neighbor has no easy way to reach a public road through his or her own land. Unlike a public right-of-way, easements are generally revocable unless otherwise stated in the easement grant.